This is topic 7.8, and we are talking about noise pollution. Turn down your headphones. Let's go. So just an introduction of how is noise even created in the first part. It all happens from vibrations. An object vibrates. That could be a guitar string, violin string. Our vocal cords are vibrating right now as I speak. Jet engines, they're vibrating, and this vibration actually dissipates its energy in the form of sound waves. And these sound waves are going to move outward from the source of the vibration. So this is my dog barking right now. It's barking because its vocal cords are vibrating, and it's going to send these sound waves in all directions. Now, these sound waves all have pitches to them. They either have high pitches or they have low pitches. High pitches is really high, low pitches very low. And whenever we have a high pitch, that means that the vibrations are quite close together. They're fast vibrations. So these are fast vibrations here. And so those of you who understand physics, it means that we are getting more waves per second. So the frequency is quite high, and the wavelength, which is from one wave to the next wave, is quite short. Whenever we have a really low pitch, that's because we're creating slow vibrations. Slow vibrations, if you notice in these diagrams, there are much fewer. This diagram, there's only 3 waves. This diagram has a lot more waves going on there, and that affects the pitch. But we also have the loudness, which is the volume. And this is the measure of the pressure of that sound wave as it collides with our ears. And so that loudness, or that volume, is measured and recorded in units called decibel. So exposure to these sound levels that are over 70 decibels or for very long times, that can result in hearing loss. So, and the biggest thing with hearing loss I want to emphasize today is that hearing loss is not replaceable. It's not reversible. Once it's gone, it's gone. There's no way to bring that back. 70 decibels for a long period of time can impact our hearing loss, but exposure to sound levels over 120 can cause immediate damage. And like I said, that's permanent. This is actually an interesting concept here. This is right outside of London. British Airways flies right over homes, and the decibels are getting so loud that a lot of homes have actually sued and saying, whoa, this is not fair. You built this airport here. Our homes were here first. And we are now having issues of long periods of time with over 70 decibel exposure. So if normal breathing is about 10 decibels, you can hear that a whisper, that's about 30 decibels. And a quiet office is about 50 or 60 decibels. Normal conversation is around 65. Vacuum dryers, hair dryers, they're at about 70. So this is prolonged. We can have issues. Dishwasher about 75. Washing machine can up to 78. And garbage disposal, which you guys don't have in this country, are as up to 80. Once we hit this 80, now this is dangerous. Now this is not good. So if you are in charge of running lawnmowers all day, you need to be protecting your hearing because that can cause damage. All of these for a very long time can cause damage. Jet flyovers, trains, garbage trucks, farm tractors, lawnmowers, snowmobiles, jackhammers, power saws, thunderclaps, boom boxes, stereos, all of these start to produce damage. So this is what our ear looks like here. And we're going to start with the tympanic membrane. This is where the waves are going to hit that tympanic membrane. And then they're going to travel up through here and start moving. Then they're going to start hitting. It's a 3-piece bone right here. And then that's going to start tapping away, and it's going to move the fluid in the cochlear canal. This is like a big spiral full of fluid. And those fluid vibrations will be sensed by these little hairs inside your cochlea, and each of those hairs are connected to a nerve ending. So this is how the whole process works. Any of the damage that could happen is going to happen with these hairs. So the tiny hairs in our cochlea, these are set into motion by different frequencies of different sound waves. The louder the sound, the greater the movement of these tiny little hairs in here. So they're vibrating back and forth based on the sound waves hitting these through the fluid cochlea. Now, over time, unfortunately, the loud sounds can cause these hairs to break. We know everything breaks. Anything that is moving can break. And because these guys here are just constantly vibrating, if they're vibrating too much, they can break. And when they break, that causes our loss of hearing. And this, as I mentioned before, is not reversible so far that we know of yet. So they're lined up in these little chevron patterns here that we see. And so this is an intact cochlea. This is a damaged cochlea. You have a good idea that you have damaged a cochlea if you hear a ringing sound in your ear afterwards. That ringing sound is it's because one of these guys is broken and the nerves attach at the bottom here. So coming off of all of these are nerves. It breaks off at that point there. The nerve doesn't know what to do. It's supposed to send noise, but there's nothing telling it what that noise should be. So that's why we get that ringing in our ear. It's our nerve not quite sure what to do anymore. And that's what happens when we get these damaged hairs and therefore a damaged cochlea. We consider noise pollution as background sound levels above 75. These are human created. Okay, humans that are creating noise above 75 decibels. It could be traffic, jets, construction. There's so much noise with construction. The banging and the hammering and the slamming. Nightclubs, the music, concerts. Even Taylor Swift created more than 75 decibels with her concerts. And then just dogs, these domesticated pets that we keep, and then they just bark, and that also creates that noise pollution. So hearing evolved with organisms to allow them to avoid predators. That was the whole initiation of adding hearing and evolving this hearing, so that we could pick up when predators were near and therefore we could move away. However, when there is too much background noise, it elicits stress. And our body's stress response, any creature's stress response, increases blood pressure, increases pulse rate, breathing rate, and initiates this flight or fight response with high cortisol levels. And this, unfortunately, can lead to heart attack. So there is a big impact on species by living and coexisting in this noise pollution. A recent study in Europe estimates that 50,000 Europeans die of noise pollution each year via heart attack. So very interesting. This has a massive impact on our bodies. It also interferes with the ability to sleep. You guys know what it's like when you don't sleep very well. It causes a whole massive amount of health problems, including stress, fatigue, memory loss, depression, substance abuse, alcoholism. So just within humans alone, not being able to sleep because of noise pollution has a massive impact. Now imagine what that's doing to other species. Animals are using sound to signal many different things. They are marking territory with it. They're finding mates with it. They're communicating for migration with it. And they even use echolocation to find prey. All of that requires very little noise. And so therefore noise pollution interferes with their ability to do these things. For example, dolphins. Let's look at whales and dolphins. Sonar, which is using noise, it was used by the Navy and oil exploration ships to produce underwater sound waves up to 235 decibels. Holy cow, that's a lot. That can cause a lot of damage. And therefore, unfortunately, this was interfering with whales and dolphins' ability to navigate because they use echolocation, where they send out a sound wave and they measure how much time it takes for it to bounce and come back. That is how they determine how close they are to something. So if you have other sound waves that are crossing through that, it's going to make echolocation very difficult. Bats also echolocate, and unfortunately, that means that they are leaving cities due to noise. Well, the wonderful thing about bats is that they eat insects. They eat all those nasty mosquitoes we can't stand. So unfortunately, because of noise pollution, they are leaving cities, which is leading to an increase in insects in those cities. Bird species have also been found to alter their migration routes to avoid these noisy areas like cities. So therefore, many places that do have that noise pollution are losing the species richness along the way. And then other bird species have changed either the loudness or the pitch of their song, of their noises that they make, because they've realized that, like, look, I can't communicate at my current method, so we need to change this. Or they're changing the time of the day of which they vocalize. So they're having to adapt to this noise pollution. We've also seen this with prairie dogs. I don't know if you guys have a lot of prairie dogs here, but in my hometown, we have tons of these little prairie dogs. And the ones that live near the roads, they have the traffic noise. They have changed their behavior from foraging for food to guarding against predators because they can't hear the predators anymore because the road noise is so loud. Those cute little things. So some solutions, always education. Using electric vehicles, these are much quieter than regular vehicles. These contribute much less to noise pollution. Sound barriers along the roadways, you'll actually see a lot of these in Korea, so those are very helpful. Designating certain areas as quiet zones. This is normally used with honking, especially that, like, look, no honking, please. Enforcing limits on noise levels from different establishments. This is normally like bars, clubs, discotheques. So they're like, well, you need to just quiet down between these hours. Limiting the time of day when sound can exceed certain limits, which is also really nice. And then restricting the use of sonar, especially in the oceans, because it allows for more echolocation with whales and dolphins. All right, that is a wrap. Good work, guys. That is semester 1 wrapped up. We'll see you later.